אני רוצה חיים טובים תבקש.
חיים טובים וארוכים,
תודה רבה לך.
Rebischter ist mir mal, ich kam von dem Koch, aber hat wo die Dei, echt besimcha, gebald am Melech, Basodi und Betzer. Jeder ist in alle Jeden soll mir machtig sein, soll da sein, die mit der Ziehung, kol hoinjon, wegen welches Retzer, in dem Zettel, mit der alle Chasumim, wird sich das Kammer von dem Masore mit Israel, das Kammer von dem Schinter Schruyo, die nehmen, und soll gleich mit der Simcha, zusammen und Hakel, noch jedem Hashana Habo, gleich hereintanzen in der Herrschaft, bis man Mokim, und dann noch gleich in der Hashana Habo, holch בחיל ולחויל, ביס ירו אלוקים בצין, ובפשטוס גולה אמיתיס ושלמו, תקף ומיד ממש.
Amen.
Rosh Hashanah 5780 is a very, 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 very crucial Rosh Hashanah. We're starting a new decade. We're coming into the decade of the Pays, the decade of the 80s. In general, the last century of the 5700s was an intense preparation for Moshiach. Right at the beginning of Shin, which is 5700, it began with the horrors of the Holocaust. And then after that, we had the development of Eretz Yisrael. We had the miracles that we haven't seen in generations, such open miracles of the 6-Day War in Tebi, the Persian Gulf War. We had like the hand of Hashem seen in the world in ways that we haven't seen in thousands of years. And particularly, we find that the previous Rebbe then came to America and established Chabad in the United States of America, which was, what we learn in Chassidus, and the Rebbe always tells us, the final and last preparation for Moshiach, because Moshiach is dependent on Hafatzas Hamayonis Chutza. So the explosion of Hafatzas Hamayonis and Hafatzas Hayahadus, spreading of the light of the Torah and of Judaism across the entire world. With all that happening, and especially the Nesius of our Rebbe in the year Tafshin Yud, 5710 or 5711, and all the years that follow since then, the period of, we're talking already now, 70 years, we've had such an intensification movement and farther and farther and farther closer towards Moshiach. We're now entering into the decade of number 8. And in Chassidus we learn that 8 represents the supernatural, the infinite light, the transcendental. 7 represents the world. The Rebbe explained how the final tikkun olam, the final fixing of the world to prepare time and space, creation for a sakin olam, to be masakin the world for the time of Mashiach, is related to the number 7. And the Rebbe said that's why it's the place which was the headquarters to complete it all is 770. But 8 represents already revelation from above. We are now entering into the decade of number 8. The potential for divine revelation is incredible. The potential for Moshiach is at its peak. We're also witnessing right now, and primarily in the latter part of the 7th decade in the 5700s, we're seeing great shift in the world. We're seeing a lot of things are moving around and a very great instability. Countries are swinging from one extreme to the other extreme. Like the United States of America, we've had one extreme government, then it moved to the other extreme, creating a lot of chaos, creating turmoil that we haven't seen before. In Eretz Yisrael, we don't have a government. They can't put together a government. There's no leadership. There's a great emptiness, a vacancy. There is the threat of war with Iran, which is, and just to a few weeks ago when they attacked Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia coming to the United States, which is reminiscent of what was going on in 1990 when the Rebbe was pointing to the Yalkut Shimoini, that these are the signs of Moshiach. We have, even in America, right now, we have just announced impeachment procedures. I mean, you can see and sense such a lack of stability. There's this emptiness. It seems like the world is like in its ultimate shakeup, waiting and seeing what is going to be decided. It is in this state that we are approaching Rosh Hashanah of the year 5780. A drastic time requires a drastic response. The Rebbe has taught us, Chassidus tells us in general, that everything is dependent, it's from the Gemara as well, that everything is dependent on Rosh Hashanah. Chassidus, however, reveals to us how deep our role is in everything that's going to happen in Rosh Hashanah. The power that a Jew has, that each and every one of us have. In the Erev Rosh Hashanah bracha that the Rebbe gave the last time he spoke to us on Erev Rosh Hashanah 57:52 or 57:51, going into 57:52 after the Rebbe received the pan, the Rebbe then explained how Rosh Hashanah is a time, and Atam Nitzavim Mayoim, Nitzavim means standing strong. The Rebbe says that each and every Jew is a melech. He's a melech, meaning he's a king over the entire Seder Ishtalshalos. A king rules, has absolute sovereignty over all of existence. We, the Jewish people, get to decide what is going to happen. It's all dependent on our avodah. So much so that even Hashem's kingship is dependent. Ein melech b'loi am. There is no king without a people, and we are the deciders of that kingship. We are the ones who make it happen. So what could we do this year to assure that this year should be, as we're all hoping and yearning, for Shnas Piduseinu, for the year of our Pidus, and the next decade coming against us should be just filled with bracha and greater light, and the building of the Beis HaMikdash, and all that godliness. So what can we do? So we know in Rosh Hashanah, we are the ones who make the Eibishter a king. That's our avodah. The main avodah, the Eibishter asks of us, Tamlichuni Aleichem, make me your king. So this is the time in which we're establishing, and with a deep, deep avodah, a deep submission, we're establishing the Eibishter's kingdom. The ultimate expression of the Eibishter's kingship in the world, the ultimate manifestation of God's kingship in the world, will only be in the days of Moshiach, when Hashem's Malchus is going to include all of humanity, when Hashem's Malchus is going to be global. Up until then, Hashem's Malchus, in a revealed way that is recognized, is only by the Jewish people. Within the Jewish people, those that go to shul and are more into observance and so on and so forth. But that God's kingship should be recognized in the world, like we say, Yakiru v'yedu, they should recognize that no kol yoshu yisevel, the entire world. That's going to be the Al Kei Nakavalacha. We are hoping, we are waiting, as the Tfilas of Rosh Hashanah, every day in Aleinu, but in Rosh Hashanah we have that in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei. We're holding Lidois B'Seferes Izecha to see in the splendor of your might and of your strength in the future, in the coming of Moshiach. Now, it's not just the time period of Moshiach that will herald in the complete revelation of Hashem's majesty and of Hashem's kingdom. It is connected to Moshiach himself, to Moshiach Tzedkenu himself. Because the first thing we know about Moshiach is that Moshiach is a melech. The pasuk says, the Rambam says, Yamoid melech, a king will get up. And the Malchus of the Eibishter, the Malchus of Hashem, and the Malchus of Moshiach are deeply intertwined and deeply connected. In Hosea, Perigimel, the Navi says that after many years, when the Jewish people will be without a king, and then after the Jewish people will return to Eretz Yisrael, a clear prophecy to what has been happening now, they will seek out Hashem, the pasuk says. Uvikshu es Elokehem. They will seek out Hashem. There's David Malcolm and David their king. So Rashi says in the name of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Rashi says that the Jewish people have rejected in the days of Rechavam, the son of Shlomo Melech, or the days of Yeravam ben Nevat, the Jewish people rejected three things. They rejected Hashem's kingship, they rejected the kingship of Malchus Beis David, the kingship of the Davidic family, and they rejected the Beis Hamikdash. Omer Reb Shimon ben Menasya, Rashi continues, the name of Reb Shimon ben Menasya, Ein Marin Siman Tov Li Yisrael. We do not show a good sign to the Jewish people, Ache Yavakshu, until they're going to plead and ask Hashem for these three things. And Rashi brings the pasuk where it says they will request all these three things. They're going to ask for Hashem's kingship, they're going to ask for the Beis Hamikdash, and they're going to ask for Malchus Beis David. Vikshu es Aleichem ves David Malkam. So the Abar Ben El, interesting, on the Psukim in Isaiah, explains what's the relationship. So he says, I will share with you, he said, Soid Elyon, a great secret, that Malchus Beis David, he says, is Bar Metzra. It's the neighbor to Malchus Shel Hashem. It's the Malchus of God. The two of them are related very deeply. He says, when Shlomo Melech built the Beis Hamikdash, at the same time period, he built his own palace. When they destroyed the first Beis Hamikdash, the pasuk says they destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, Beis Hamelech, and the house of the king. It also says that when the Jewish people, he brings, removed the yoke of Malchus Beis David in the days of Yeravam, he says instantly they were also porek, they also removed from the yoke of the Eibushters, of God's kingship, and they served idols. That's what the Abar Ben El says. To be better explained, that Tzemach Tzedek and Mitzvahs Minui Melech says that, and not only intertwined and related one to the other, but that the Eibuschter funnels and channels his Malchus through the human keli, the container, the vessel in which Hashem's Malchus can take on a physical presence in this world, is through the human king who the Eibuschter chose, the family of David HaMelech and his descendants. So therefore he explains that by Yidden being batel el HaMelech, when Yidden are surrendered to the Melech, to the king, then via the human king, they are batel to the Eibuschter. They can sense God's kingship. In other words, we can put it this way. Hashem's Malchus, Hashem's kingship requires a Wi-Fi station to give off a very strong signal of kingship. That means that deep in our hearts and in our bones and in every limb of our body, and not only ours, but across the entire world, in order for someone to sense and to feel the Eibishter's Balabatishkeit, meaning God's sovereignty, God's rulership and kingship, it requires, it can't be detached. It has to be enclosed in a physical representative, and that is the king's Malchus Beis David, and primarily the ultimate realization, Moshiach Tzedkenu. So what do we need to do this Rosh Hashanah? When it's more, of course, there is the davening. We should put our hearts and souls and beg and cry from the deepest part of our hearts. We are so ready. The Geula should come. We need Moshiach now. But in addition to that, we make Hashem king through our verbal declaration of him being a king. We need to declare that kingship and its extension into the human being that channels that kingship. We can't just make the Eibishter as a melech, as it's been done for thousands of years in a more abstract form, just relating to a malchus that we can't see. It has to be channeled down and peered, like you peer your phone with your car when you through a Bluetooth. We need to peer God's kingship into Melech HaMoshiach. And it's part of the idea that Mashiach needs life. And the life of Moshiach Tzedkenu, says Moshiach asks for life. The Gemara says in Masechta Sukkah, part of that life is the life force of Hashem's Malchus being channeled through him. This year, Rosh Hashanah, let's, all of us together, it requires the unity of the people. Rosh Hashanah, have in mind Malchus Moshiach, not continuously. We shouldn't stop. We shouldn't divert our attention at all during the entire Rosh Hashanah of asking for Mashiach, pleading for Mashiach, but primarily during Tkiyah Shofar, we should try, at least in our machshava, and if we can, we should even verbalize it b'dibur, that we are submitting ourselves to the kingship of Moshiach. And like it used to be declared when in front of a king, they used to say in the Navi, it says, Yechi HaMelech David, let the King David live. We should announce, as the Rebbe says in the Sikh of Memches, Yechi HaMelech, the king should live. We should say it. If we can say it publicly with the people, then that needs to be done, that should be done, because that has, on Rosh Hashanah, everything is given to us, and to our power, we can decree, like the Eibishter decrees, every single Jew can, on Rosh Hashanah, decree and make that the reality. So let's just do it on this Rosh Hashanah. We will definitely merit to see the Geula Shalema. May it be now.
Noch gekommen ist sie der Reine und gemacht eine ganze Studie von Lealter Lichuve, Lealter Ligiule. Und das ist gemacht, kommen bedient mit der Studie. Und als es geheißen, Nordrücken, geheißen, Mäfi sein und gar der Fall, die Schwierigkeiten, was man mit dem Mann gemacht. Und nachfolgend ist dann noch umgegangen, der Winter, als es geheißen, Nordrücken, gedeiht, soll bleiben, man soll das lernen, la deis haboi machen. Ist ein dober Bohrer, die einzige Sache, was mir darf Maschlim sein, jeder soll wissen, dass es sein, ihnen a Proti, auf mit keinem sein, oder die a Loch in Rambam, mit Mehle hat man kein Brede nicht, muss man halten in ein Tummeln in dem. Aber man soll wissen sein, wegen Keizim, man soll wissen sein, wegen Jemesa Moshiach, und man soll wissen sein, da alle Proten, was und man soll wissen sein, der Rieker, was nicht, da jene, was steht, mehr nicht ins Vollen. Das meint man und das meint man nie, und das meint man Anoschen, Venoschen, Betach, Bejemech, und alle zusammen, Kol Godel.